I have been leading since 1997, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 things that you need to know about motivating employees, and it may not be what you think. If you're a manager, this video definitely is for you. I actually prefer to use the term leader because being a manager and being a leader are 2 different things, but we can talk about that another time. But I want you to pay close attention to this video because I am not speaking from a place of theory. These are actual techniques that I have worked and used and implemented no matter what type of team I've had. And I've had lots of teams over the years. I've led different types of teams, whether it was children, adults, teenagers, volunteers, international team, domestic team, and remote teams as well. I am Barika from Simply Unique Coaching, and I am a leadership coach, and I am the leader who learned in the trenches. I like to say it that way. I want you to avoid making some of the common leadership mistakes that can come across and that can be made if you're a new leader, if you're a newer leader, or if you're a leader who have never actually been formally trained in leadership. And in the course of my career, I've actually had about 4 teams that I had a difficult time motivating, and I'm going to share with you what was the reason why those teams were a little bit more difficult than some of the other teams I've led to motivate, as well as some of the strategies that I did actually use with those teams to help move them forward and to help get things done that need to get done. Also, later in this video, I'm going to share with you the techniques that I'm using to lead the 2 remote teams that I'm currently leading. I would say out of the 4 teams that I mentioned earlier, I would divide them into 2 categories. So one being that we just needed warm bodies in a seat and we needed to get things done. So we hired quantity versus hiring quality. Okay. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second here. But then also with the other 3 teams, they ended up being situations where I was the outsider. And because I was the outsider and those groups were together longer than I had been with them, then it was a little bit more of a challenge. So as a leader, do you find yourself in that situation where you hired from without or outside of the organization? And do you find like the people that have been there for a while that they've become chummy and they have their own culture going, and you're now seen as the person who's trying to infringe upon what they have happening? Let me know in the comments. So what did I learn from working with definitely the first group where we hired quantity over quality is it's best to hire right the first time. Okay. That is the best situation you're going to find yourself in. Do not just rush to put people in unless it has to be a dire situation. And honestly, at this point, I'm at the point where I'm just headhunting. I don't even post positions when I'm looking to hire. I actually kind of look around and see what people are doing and seeing what their skill set is. And then I may approach them and get to know them more and offer them an interview. But I am not posting, hey, we're looking for this position. Absolutely not. I am not going that route because people will tell you whatever they want to tell you in the interview to get a job. And it's not until you see them in place to see what's happening. And the way that I interview is quite different. So it gives me a good feel for the people. And one of the things I will say, I just interviewed somebody earlier this week, is I always say that I really want the person to be honest, because if they're honest, we're going to have the best situation because I know what they're coming to the table with. They know where I'm coming from. And, they know this up front because this is a part of the culture that I set for the team and the organizations that I'm a part of. And I will say the biggest thing is that when you hire the wrong people, it just takes a lot of effort and energy to get to the place where a lot of people will wait for a while to say, okay, I really got to get this person out. And it's just the better thing is not to hire them from the get-go if you can avoid it. Now if you inherit somebody, that's a little bit different. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you are hiring, take the time, hire properly, especially if you're a small business owner, hire properly the first time. There are things you're going to learn. There's bumps and bruises if you're in a corporation. Also, you should have enough time to go through and hire properly. You should have HR people that you can work with or leaders that have done hiring that can help you with best practices. And that's something that I can help with if your organization is not set up that way, because I realize now that there are quite a few people who have not been set up for success by having experienced people saying, here is how you hire, here is how you terminate people, here is how you hire properly so you don't have to terminate people, kind of thing. So the next thing that I do and I did is I built individual relationships as soon as possible. And there are certain key people on the team that I definitely want to make sure that I build those relationships with the quickest. Now, when you start off as a leader, definitely try to have those one-on-one meetings with them. I have other videos that goes into more details about how to build those relationships with the employees. But that is going to be something crucial, critical. It's going to be important, because when you have relationships with people, and then when the people actually like you because you have a genuine relationship with them, you're being authentic, you're not trying to get to know them so you can manipulate them, you're getting to know them out of the goodness of your heart and wanting to see them succeed and wanting the best for them. That transfers over, and when people know that you care about them, they will do so many things for you. So it really helps with that motivation factor. And one of the things that I will add here is you want to make sure that you're building relationships with any difficult people that are currently on the team, especially if you inherited a team, if you were the outsider coming in and you inherited difficult, hopefully you don't have a lot of them, but if you inherited a difficult team member or a couple of difficult team members, you need to build one-on-one relationships with them as soon as possible, because that is going to make your job a lot easier, and that's going to make the work environment a much healthier work environment. Here's the third thing that I realized, and I'm really big on this, and you have to be careful about how you do it, because different countries have different laws, different requirements and things like that. But cycle out those people who should not be on your team as quickly as possible, because they are just going to be like dead weight, kind of, you know, they're really like dead weight. And the longer they're on the team, the worse it could get for the team, and the worse it could get for you as a leader. And really for them, if they're not happy there, that's not the right place for them. You know what I mean? So in the next video that I'm going to make, I'm going to be talking about how to deal with those kind of situations a little bit more. But if they're not happy there, then get them to their happy place and get them there as quickly as possible. And for me, firing is kind of more of a last resort. Not to say that I won't fire a person or terminate an employee if I need to, but it's like, if I can see that they're not, either it's not a good fit for them as far as the position, or if I can see that they're not happy, if we can have genuine conversations about what's going on, then I can help them get to their happy place. Like, let's say they're working in a customer service job, but they really want to be in IT. Okay, now that I know your goal, let me do what I can to help you get to the IT position that you really want to have. And then even when you helping them that little bit is going to help motivate them and say, oh, this person actually cares about me. I can't tell you the number of difficult people that I have encountered that as I built those relationships with them, they stuck up for me in different situations, or stood up for me in different situations. They came through for me in a clutch, like, because a lot of times a difficult person, they're pretty stubborn, you know, they can be pretty stubborn, but if they have a good heart on the inside, when push comes to shove, they're gonna do what it takes to make sure that they help you out, because they know that you're trying to help them out. When they know you care, they will care as well. And so they have been some of my best advocates in the past when I needed it, or, you know, even when I didn't realize I needed it. So definitely take that into consideration. Now let's talk about strategies to motivate employees. It is easy to motivate people who want to be there. And that goes to my last point. Like, make sure that the people who are on your team actually want to be there. Now, if they are having some problems and things like that, we can work through them. If they're having a difficult time, or they're just having a low moment in life, because life happens. And especially the longer you're in an organization, you're going to see people go through cycles of life. You might see them get married and divorce within the same time frame that they're working for you. You may see them have a child and maybe something happens, you know, or just, you know, maybe something happens with their health, or their parent might pass away or something like that. And you're going to see people in different seasons of their life. So you have to be accommodating and understanding that, you know, they may not just be their best at this point in time, but that's okay. I can help support them if I know that they really want to be here. The next thing I do is I check in with the employees to see how they're doing, to see if they need any support from me. I regularly check in because I think that that's important. And by doing that, that avoids having those long periods of time where things are building up and building up and building up, and all of a sudden you have this huge explosion. So by doing those like small check-ins, regular check-ins, hey, how's everything going? Do you need anything? How can I help you? You know, are you experiencing any challenges that are preventing you from being able to do your job? Have those conversations. And again, this is a part of showing that you care. When you show you care, people are motivated. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, people are motivated. Also be a real human being. Like, one of the biggest things I think that's really important. I'm so grateful for one of the first organizations that I worked in when I was working in corporate. They were very big on knowing that the leaders were humans. So be a human being. However, be a human being with wisdom, especially if you're in a leadership position, because you want to make sure that there are certain boundaries in place, because you don't want to become too familiar, or you have your team become too familiar with you. Like, they shouldn't know that you and your spouse had an argument the night before, or, maybe your kid did something that maybe your kid wouldn't want you to share. It's different if it's like, oh, my kid, won the spelling bee or something like that. Yeah, share that kind of stuff, or, oh, my kid, dropped his lunchbox out the car window or something like that. Okay, that might be something. But like, when it gets to that private space in your life, you need to be very careful about that. But be a human being. Say, oops, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I got some feedback from one of my employees recently where they were like, I was like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? If you need anything, let me know. And they're like, I just want some more feedback on some of the work I'm doing. And I was like, thank you for the feedback, because now I know what they've been thinking that I didn't know that they were thinking. So now I know, okay, I need to give this person some more feedback, some valuable feedback, so that they can improve their skill set, because this is a hardworking person and I really want them to be successful and I want them to be happy. And then this ties into the fourth point. Listen to your employees and listen to what they say they need to be successful, because now you will occasionally have employees that may complain and stuff like that. And, an occasional complaint is fine. You just have to be careful to make sure it doesn't get into that negative culture, that negative work culture, because that's very hard to turn around when the whole organization, or when the majority of the organization, starts to become negative. So you want to kind of watch that. But, if they say they need something and you can support them, then definitely support them in that. Sometimes supporting is just having a listening ear. Maybe you just need to listen, and you could say, I wish we could change this particular thing. And if something comes up, I would definitely let you know, and be genuine. Don't just say stuff just to say stuff. Like, you need to be a stable force for your team. You need to be a person that they know that they can count on. And that makes a big difference. Now we're going to talk about some of the techniques that I'm currently using with the remote teams that I'm leading. I'm leading two at this current time, but I want to know from you as a leader, what has been the biggest challenge that you have encountered? Let me know in the comments. I shared with you the 4 difficult teams that I had in the past, but I want to know, what have you encountered that has been really a challenge for you? So when it comes to these 2 current remote teams that I'm leading, one thing that I do is I have an open door policy, so they know if they need to get in contact with me, how to get in contact with me. And I tend to try to listen to any messages, voicemail messages that are, urgent or anything like that. I listen to them on a daily basis or every other day at the latest. But I try to stay in touch unless there's something, pressing that I wasn't able to get to it. But I do try to prioritize the team, because I know that they're remote employees. So if they're reaching out and saying, hey, I need X, Y, and Z, I help them with that. Also, I have this like to-do list that's ongoing, but I will put stuff like that. Like, if they need me to take a certain action, I will put that in my to-do list. And I have my to-do list set out by the week. And so in that week, and I do it for the whole month, and I'll just plug in, I use like OneNote on Microsoft. And so there's a way that you can have like a little checkbox created, and I will put whatever that task is within that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I have it made out for the whole month. So we can't do everything all the time, but I'll push it out by where it needs to be prioritized. So if it's something urgent, I'll put it up higher. And then if it's something that can wait a couple of days or a week or 2, then I'll put it out further so that I can work on the urgent things first. Also, again, I mentioned this earlier, having those regular check-ins, checking in with the employees to see how they're doing, and getting a pulse for the team. I believe it's very important to have a temperature check of your team. You don't let your team get all the way off balance and off kilt and not know it. If you talk to them on a regular basis, you will know it ahead of time, so you can help them and you can help yourself by making sure that you stay in touch and in tune with what they need, and by helping them. Also, I'm a big proponent of proactive feedback. I am looking for you to do something right, so I can praise you on it. I can say, hey, great job on this project. Oh my gosh. Like, I had one person recently, they were doing some things, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was on my own personal social media account, and the thumbnail you created stood out to me. Great job. Kudos to you. And they were so happy about that, because I'm like, this is on my personal time. I happened to see this thumbnail and this stood out to me. So you did a great job. And it was genuine feedback. So provide that genuine feedback, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, because you always want people to know where they stand. And there's other things I can talk about that I'm not going to get into it. I'm thinking about going into it deeper, but I would go off, not in a tangent, but it would go in a different focus than what this video is. Also, I value my team members and I'm honest with them. I mentioned that before. I won't go any more into that, but definitely letting them know that I appreciate them, especially if they're hardworking and because I'm a hardworking person. So if they're hardworking and they have good work ethic and they have a good heart, then I would definitely do what I can to support them. And by way of providing that honest feedback, that's an important thing. Also, I would strongly suggest to know your team's long-term goals, especially if you are hiring. When I am hiring, when I'm interviewing, I am finding out their long-term goals in that interview because I want to know what they're thinking long-term. Is this somebody I'm going to have with me for a couple of months, a couple of years? What is their thinking? What are their goals? What do they want to accomplish? And then that way I can keep that in the back of my mind. Also, when it comes to professional development, if there's something I know that can help them get to where they want to go, then I can say, hey, I just saw this video on YouTube. Hey, I just read this article that I think may be helpful. And people remember that. Think about that. When people think about you and they know what you like they might know your favorite cookie flavor, like you might like a specific type of cookie or something like that, or maybe a specific type of lunch. When people know that kind of thing about you, you're thinking, okay, this person actually values me because they are considering me and they're taking what I think and what I like into consideration. And it makes a big difference. Now, if you want to know 6 different ways to motivate negative employees, I want you to watch this video next. And with that being said, make it a great day. Have a great one.